Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Women in Nuclear, where today we speak to a woman who's defied the odds, a woman without a limit. Her name is Diana Musyoka, an environmental scientist at the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency, in short form NuPEA. Thank you so much for making time for us, and thank you for welcoming us. I'm wondering, earlier when I was stating your bio, you are an environmental scientist at NuPEA. Is this what you always wanted to do?
Okay, thank you so much, David. And growing up, I just knew I had to excel in life. I knew I would go to university, and I wanted to do engineering courses. Okay, and so I was able to get admission at Kenyatta University to do environmental studies, specifically environmental science. And when I got to do this, I knew that I had to continue my ambition of actually finally making something out of myself. And so I graduated with a degree in environmental science, that is 12 years ago. And I got down to making something out of this qualification that I had. And just fast forward, 10 years ago, I found myself having a chance to work with the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency. Yeah.
It's been a journey that's beyond 10 years, in as much as for 10 years you've been not only at Kawi House, you've been to other places working under the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency. But of course, as it is the nature with journeys, it has its leaps and bounds. Maybe what challenges, not only as a woman, but also as a Kenyan who wanted to excel, did you have to go through and overcome as well?
Okay, so when I got to work with the NuPEA, I remember I worked here so I came in as an environmental specialist, and my role was to bring an environmental perspective to the nuclear power program. That's why I got into the organization. And because of my background, I came in and I was able to perform my duties in some of the programs that are there at that time. But 5 years down the line, I realized that I was actually in the nuclear power industry, energy industry, but I was an environmental scientist. So I realized that I need to advance my studies so that I can give fully to the programs in NuPEA. And so in 2016, that was, let's say 5 years after working with the company, I decided to go and pursue further studies. That is my master's program. So I went to do that in South Korea. And having not been in an engineering background, and specifically nuclear engineering, I found the course very challenging. But still, with my very ambitious spirit, I was able to complete the course and come back to my country, to Kenya, and now give fully and with the maximum input. Because now I was not only an engineer, but I had done studies in nuclear power plant engineering. So that's how I conquered that challenge. Yeah.
Upon coming back, you've been a very vital member of NuPEA. Perhaps if you walk me through your day, what do you do, especially when you wake up in the morning? Because you began as an engineer, but of course you're now an environmental scientist. Perhaps what do you do?
So actually, if maybe I can correct you. So I was an environmental scientist, but now I was in the engineering field, and specifically nuclear engineering. So on my day-to-day activities, you'd find that I would be running programs, either specifically on environmental issues in the nuclear power program, or in other issues. Like you'd find me in a program to select a site for the nuclear power plant. Okay, and you'd find that I would do that within my organization, but I would also engage with other state agencies. Like we would have collaboration with the NEMA, the National Environment Management Authority, and other organizations like Kenya Nuclear Regulatory Authority. So you'd find that we have that interaction because we have to develop policies and strategies all geared towards implementing the nuclear power program. And maybe a bigger part of my work again would be doing a lot of research, you know, to feed into developing the nuclear power program.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's
face it, Diana, the position that you hold or in the sector that you're in, we have very less female representation. In as much as we have women in nuclear, they aren't quite equal in terms of numbers with their male counterparts. So why do you think that is the case?
You're right. You're right in that. Like when I look at my department itself, we are. If you compare the men and the ladies, indeed, we have more men than the ladies. Yeah. And I would now, if I could give an example of how it was when I was growing up, and even an example of myself, it's because as a lady, as ladies, or as young girls, we fear sciences or STEM subjects because we say they are hard, you know. So fear is what gets hold of us, and so we leave them and we want to go for what we may call soft studies, like home science, like maybe agriculture, business studies. So we would want to shy away from sciences like chemistry, biology, physics. I gave you an example. When I was in secondary school, I almost dropped chemistry because according to me, I was failing, so it was hard. But I remember my parents encouraged me to work hard, and so it had to be my own decision. I worked on it and I actually excelled. So I would imagine for young girls even now, they would be afraid that they are going to fail, you know. Everyone wants to pass, but the girls would have fear of failure, and so they would not pursue those subjects. Okay, and maybe for the men, they are always courageous, and as from a young age, they'd go and conquer that. Yeah.
A measure of growth is someone not being just part of the problem or just identifying the problem, but being part of the solution. And this is a problem that requires a solution. Do you see a day and a future where women and men will be at par, let's say, narrowing it down to nuclear science, and how? Okay, so like you already did with the question that we've just answered, I think it all goes back to what programs are being implemented. Okay, what strategies are being implemented, and there's been a lot. You know, there's been a lot of focus on they say girl child, and I would still say that needs to continue. Yeah. That we've not really achieved that equal situation whereby we can say that we have men and women representation in the field of science. So a solution to this would be a continuation of what we are doing. We should not feel like now we have we even have the ladies passing the men. We are not there at all. We still have to do a lot, because you remember some things are because of maybe culture and beliefs, and I think it's really hard to change culture and beliefs. So we still have to continue. We still need we still have to reach out to the girls at a young age, and especially the women in nuclear. We need to be out there and be seen by those kids, you know, and then they will see themselves in us in a few years to come, and then they will that will really change their mind in the decisions that they are making, the courses they are pursuing, you know. Yeah. When you say that you like to be out there, be seen and noticed by other girls who perhaps would want to advance their careers as you have, earlier this year, sometimes in July, we happened to, as much as we didn't know each other, we happened to be in the same event, a mentorship program that was carried out by your organization to young students. Perhaps, what was the entire idea behind that program?
Okay. Yeah, so in July we had I could say we launched a mentorship program. It was it was a unique one by the organization because we've been doing a lot been doing other outreach activities, but this one was very unique in that we brought a good number of students, and majority, a big number, were young ladies who were in their they were in their first year of high school, and others were in they are almost finalizing their form 4 education.
Yeah.
And so we brought them together so that we could mentor them. And how we did this is that it was like a hybrid. We had mentors from Kenya, that is professionals like me, and we also called in other ladies who work in, like we had representation from Kenya Bureau of Standard. We had someone from the Nuclear Regulatory Authority, and then I call it hybrid because we had mentors, ladies, from our partner organizations like the Nuclear Energy Agency, and so we brought them together so we could talk about, okay, the focus was nuclear science, but also STEM. And so the purpose of this was for these kids we wanted to hear from them what would be their challenges. Why do they think, I remember one of the questions was, why do you think STEM subjects are hard, or why don't you like them? And they would say, like what I said before, is that they don't want to fail, and because they already have in their mind that this subject is hard and they are going to fail. And we would ask them, do they have figures in their family or their friends that are in STEM fields, And so we had the mentors now give their life experiences, and they gave experiences from when they were young. And and when you start from when you are young, the kids are seeing themselves at that stage, and now they are seeing you and they are hearing what you've achieved. So this particular program, it was a 1-week program, and it was meant to really show the kids that, and especially the girls, that there are other girls who are now women who have made it. Yeah.
Was it a one-off, or are we expecting to see more and more programs such as this?
Now the organization intends to make this an annual program. Yeah.
They say it takes two to tango, and in this regard, the organization, that is the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency, has put measures in place, in motion, to launch more women into leadership positions as well as men. But do you feel like women in nuclear yourselves, maybe, are there plans that you have? Is there anything in the works maybe to deliberately ensure that this journey, and you bridge that gap, especially in terms of women representation in nuclear science?
Okay. Yeah. I would say the plans, there are plans, and also you could see that some programs really target to have more women participate in nuclear science. Like I would talk about the International Atomic Energy Agency, and they are our key partner in this nuclear power program, and they have lots of career development opportunities, either short-term opportunities or long-term opportunities. Long-term would be like PhD programs, would be like master's program, and they really encourage women. They always say, women are encouraged to participate, and you would see it. Well, I know this may not go well with the men, but you would see it in the selection. You see that there are more women who actually participate in these programs, and this of course will result in their elevation and growth of their careers. Yeah.
Earlier we had an interview with one of your colleagues. She goes by the name Hilda Mpakani, and she also happens to come from a minority group where it's more or less 2 times difficult for somebody from there making it to the position that she's made it. And there could be a lady, a young woman probably from a minority group, from her same village, or from other minority groups such as the Ogiek, who want to be where you people are. What will you be your word to them?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Hilda is my colleague, and she's been a great and very influential woman. Yeah, I've worked with her for 10 years. And what I would say is that for the girls that are out there who may look at themselves and see, oh, I come from so far, maybe so far from Nairobi. And I would say that they have to really believe within themselves and that they can make it, you know, because look at Hilda, and now she's here. She's not only in Nairobi, but she's traveled all over, and she's implementing all these big programs, having come from there. So I would encourage them to believe in themselves, believe that they can do it. I would say that you have to be your own cheerleader, and then the rest of the world can cheer you up, but it has to come from you. Yeah.
There's also the perception that you actually mentioned about STEM subjects, because they are the foundation to someone furthering their careers in nuclear science as well as other technical roles.
Yes.
Are STEM subjects really that difficult? I know that is the question you asked, and you bear the answer to that. Are they really that difficult? There's a young lady who probably has been dissuaded from advancing her career because these subjects are difficult. Are they difficult? What would you tell her probably?
From my own perspective, I would say they are not hard. It's all in the mind. They are not hard.
And the question would be, are they hard to ladies more than they are hard to men?
No, they are not. What I think is there with the ladies is that they are afraid. So they have this perception that such courses, engineering courses, maths courses, they have this perception that it's hard, they are hard, you know. I don't know if it's because they are not used to, I wouldn't know how to put it, but if I could give an example of myself, because at some point I had that small sound, small voice telling me it's hard, it's because I have fear. I have fear of failure. So I think if I take subjects like I gave an example of home science, I take subjects like agriculture, business. In my mind, I'm thinking, if I do this, I will not fail. So it will be good for me. But if I do STEM subjects, they're hard, so I'm going to fail. So I think they are not hard. The ladies may be just afraid. Yeah. Bottom
line is we shouldn't listen, or they shouldn't listen to that small voice.
Yeah, the fear, the voice of fear. Can I call it that?
Switching gears to the Did You Know segment, how much do you know of the role of nuclear technology in a country's health sector? Let's find out. Did you know that apart from electricity, nuclear technology is used to diagnose many different diseases by the use of isotopes to explore the body? This peaceful application of nuclear energy has also seen radiotherapy, which is a version of nuclear medicine, become a common practice for the treatment of certain cancers where radiation is used to target and destroy cancer cells. Now you know. On to the penultimate My View segment, we take a look at another winning essay penned by a primary school pupil.
Hello, I'm Job Mwenga. I am a pupil at Leisa Hill Academy and the second runners-up for the primary school category in the 2020 NuPEA essay contest. When I hear about nuclear electricity, I cannot stop thinking about the innovation that comes with this technology. Now, instead of just making weapons, dangerous weapons of mass destruction, uranium has been put into a better use with the electricity generated, set to impact generations after generations. Looking at its vast advantages, I can state that nuclear is the way to go.
And finally, in our IAEA video of the day, we highlight the fight against women cancers and the impact of nuclear energy.
The fight against women's cancers has received a major boost that could help save over 5 million lives. Breast and cervical cancers are largely preventable or treatable in richer countries, but are often a death sentence in the rest of the world. Most of these deaths could be avoided if modern prevention measures, cancer screening and treatment were in place. The Islamic Development Bank has joined forces with the International Atomic Energy Agency to mobilize the funding and expertise needed to tackle this issue. Saving Women's Lives from Cancer, a global initiative for breast and cervical cancer control, will bring the international community together to deliver tangible results so that more women will have access to treatment. Between 70 and 90% of breast and cervical cancer patients require radiotherapy, but it is often hard to access. The projects funded by the new initiative will expand breast and cervical cancer control programs, including the upgrade of cancer facilities and the training of cancer care professionals. The bank has committed an initial $10 million US in grant funding, and the partners are now seeking other technical experts and donors to contribute to this important initiative.
Millions of women around the world, but in particular in developing countries, are dying because of cancers that are perfectly treatable and curable in many other places. We have the technologies, we have the science to do that, and we have the resources. It's time to put this together and put an end to this tragedy.
The partnership between the Islamic Development Bank and the International Atomic Energy Agency will widely address cancer prevention, screening, diagnostic and treatment of women in our common member countries. This partnership will contribute to saving the lives of up to 5 million women from breast and cervical cancer over the next decades.
Help us to save lives and join the global effort in fighting women's cancer.
I trust that that video has been informative, and it is at that note where we wrap up things on this episode. To keep the conversation going, you can always access our social media platforms, that is TV47 Kenya on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, as well as at NuPEA Kenya. This episode has been powered by the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency. Until next time.